we're going to go through some NERC standards first thing after lunch, which is so exciting. But what we need is for two teams, and I'm just going to split you right down the middle. So Lucas, is it John? And then what's your name?
John.
You guys can decide which way to go. So you can look at
the end.
You can look at either left or right. You know, you can decide at the end for who wins, right? So we're gonna just generally, this is gonna be the A team and the B team. No.
Oh, yeah.
But what you're gonna do is collectively, two teams, no laptops or phone, and the game is shout out one of the NERC standards where TS can be used. Now remember, NERC standards go from, I can, and by the way, A team, you're going to nominate a representative. B team, you're going to nominate a representative, because your representative is going to come up here and write something. Remember, NERC standards go from like Val to, I think, VAR, right? Anyone's real familiar with NERC? So, the competition is, you get 1 minute, your team's going to figure out which is the first standard, trying to get up, you know, if BAL 01 has a need for TS, then that's the one you're going to say. No looking at the web page, NERC standards. You're both going to come up and you're going to write your guess. One over there, one over there. You're going to, you know, if it's BAL, you're going to write that.
Do we have to give the version number 2?
No versions, just basic, right? And then you're going to tell me a little bit about that standard. First, what is the standard, without looking, and how is TS used in it? And for super extra credit, you can tell me which requirement you use it for. Now, some of these you won't know, right? If you're not in TPL 1, you're not going to know which requirement asks for stability. But some other ones you will, because there's both ops and planners in here, right? So we should do quite well. And we're going to give you points. And then when I go to the store tonight, I'm going to bring back the winners. I didn't get to buy chocolates yesterday, so we'll buy some. But the chocolate's on your menu for whoever wins this. Any questions?
What does highest order mean?
So if somebody does a SIP before a TPL, and the SIP's actually the one it is, then you get the prize. You get the point. And then if you tell me what it is, you get another point. If you describe a little bit of how a TS is used, you get another point. And whoever gets the most points wins the chocolates.
Got it.
Pretty good. So, get together with your team, and you got 1 minute to send a representative up here to write in the first one, the highest order standard where TS is used. Clock's ticking. You ready to go?
If they're ready to yell.
Oh, you don't want the other team to hear it. Oh, this is covert, right? Because you're going to both put your guesses up here. Okay. Look at how you guys work together, right? You're not working together. We got a little group up here that's going to do it.
Maybe we should do 14.
Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, bring him up. Who's your representative? You're the representative?
I'll tell you one.
Well, it's kind of secret ballot. You know, don't show the other team. Or you can tell me. What's that? Oh, that one?
Did you write it? You just tell them.
He just told me. I got it here, buddy. Right here. No, wait. Left side of the brain. I got it over here.
One of them. It's up there somewhere.
You guys are going to lose a point. Time violation. James, time violation's coming.
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7. Team A is going to get a merit. What do you got?
Well, the obvious ones. TPL 001.
Not just one of them. Your highest one.
So SIP 14.
Okay. So these guys picked SIP 14. These guys are FAC 11. So Team A, what's SIP 14?
from Dimitri.
You guys are pointing to each other. That's awesome.
Extreme events, right? So the
Which one?
we're not explaining.
Oh, I'm impressed. So if you could tell me what SIP 14 is, yeah, let's talk about SIP 14. Okay, what is it?
Extreme events, I heard? Extreme events.
Is that really what it is?
We're going to do some research here. We'll Google it.
No, you guys don't get to do that. I get to. Oh, wait a minute. This is Jamie's. Jamie, can I use your web browser?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, how do I get that thing out of the way? Here it is. I didn't put SIP 14, so I'm going to get educated here.
To identify and protect transmission stations and transmission substations and their associated primary control centers.
Oh, I think I did.
And if rendered inoperable or damaged as a result of a physical attack, could result in a widespread instability, uncontrolled separation, or cascading of inner energy.
Oh, that's right. This is a whole thing.
All right, there was SIP.
There's no transient stability mentions in it.
You have to do this transient
Other than the
study
stability part.
to determine whether or not your substation.
Yeah. So SIP 14 is that physical security thing, right?
To do that.
But it does have requirements. You know, part of the requirements are, hey, if this thing has caused an issue, it's an SOL or an IRL because of angular stability, right? And it's very specific about, well, where did it fail? Thermally? No, SIP 14, doesn't, if I got this right, doesn't seem to care about thermal issues. It cares a lot about angular stability. It's all over. It's 3 of the first 4 R's. I think there's 4 R's in SIP 14, right? Who knows SIP 14? Who's done SIP 14? But you could, yeah. Part of that is if it's angular stability, SOL type stuff. So we're going to give you a point for that one. It's not too bad. Except don't look at those what I just showed you there because you're not supposed to know that. So SIP 14 was the first one. You guys get a point.
I'll keep score. We're on the other one.
You're going to keep score? You're awesome. Okay, next one, SIP 14. And I do believe that was probably the highest. You know, there's no BAL standard unless somebody has a BAL standard that says use TS stability, but I didn't find one. Next one, get with your team, come up with, well, what's closest? So TPL is not likely the next one, right? TPL 1, there's more than likely a FAC or a mod that might use TS stability. Or there might even be something slightly above that. So your team comes up with the next one in alphabetical order that uses TS.
So did they have that?
We said SIP 14, do we not? Just explain it and get more points than 1 point.
Well, that team gets to do all that stuff. If you win, and let's say FAC 11 is the one.
First answer.
First one gets to, first one and the highest one gets to talk it up. Now, if they can't explain it, which they did a poor job explaining it, I should have given that to you.
Seriously.
But now that we know,
I think it's probably a TPL study standard where the studies for that are completed to determine IRL stability, right?
TS, not power flow, just transient stability.
Right, but to determine that instability, it's not the SIP 14 standard where the studies are done. It's just
where you use the tool. So in SIP 14, I think R4 is where you could likely say somebody could use Power World's transient stability in that requirement. But I don't think there's any balancing standards that you should need to use TS.
Right.
So next one down. So if SIP 14 is the highest one up here, what's the next one? 30 seconds.
What if it's SIP 1? Because
You can try that.
Because
But
it's
you wanna be-
just anything.
But you want to be
Chemical interest.
and just if you can explain it and it's legitimate, we'll give it to you.
Yeah, can you read that?
I'm sure the slides are on.
We're not supposed to.
15 seconds. We'll make this exciting because I can see Lucas is pretty excited.
I don't run studies.
So you can learn. Look at that. You learn SIP 14.
There.
Beautiful thing.
You're on everybody else that knows standard.
I don't remember. I don't have SIP every month. But they define the ES.
They've got one.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready. EOP 5.
And what this? What eight? What's this?
8.
Oh, what's 5? Hold your answer, because if they can't get it, you can steal points from them. Or did you just see it on my slide set?
No, I polled the team. I polled did the survey.
Okay, you got the number. You guys can. I'm going to give you 15 seconds. 14. What is it?
It's a black star.
Is it? I don't know. Okay. That's excellent. Where's my browser? Which one is that?
System restoration from Black Start.
Oh wait, you put what?
5.
EOP 5. How would you use that? Describe it. To those of us who haven't done the Black Start thing. Which team are you on right now? Okay.
I'm the one that's not doing anything.
Who's done a Black Start study? Okay, you're talking.
Wait, who's in the one team?
Yeah. Am I stealing points?
Well, yeah, they were struggling with the answer, so I'm gonna bring it over here.
We can get a point for.
Yes.
Yeah. We can get a point.
Oh, it's like Family Feud?
Yeah, what do you do to do a Black Start study?
So you have to energize the island. You have to check for maintaining stability on the interconnected island, and then also when you connect island to island and create the bigger island, the full network, then you have to run stability and make sure that you maintain synchronism. You don't have units go out of step. You don't violate the nuclear requirements, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you know which R you would use TS under? That's bonus points, right? That's serious bonus points.
R6.
Let's go take a look. They get a point though for that. I mean, you guys got the title, but there's still your point. R6. Hey, control voltage and frequency. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's R6.3.
Right. You're like, not exactly.
Half point.
So we had SIP. What's that, 5?
5.
Should we skip 8?
There's 2 zeros in 5.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, you know, some of
That's
us
a
just say
point.
SIP
That's a
5.
point.
We're going to say 5. We're going to ditch this. There we go. SIP 8. You guys are there. Let's talk through SIP 8 while we're here. What is SIP 8? I mean, I'm sorry, EOP 8. Who had 8? You guys were the ones. What is 8? Oh, that was a pretty
So you
close
both
guess.
thought Black Start. Just put the wrong.
We had the right one.
Catastrophic event or something.
But no explanation.
What does EOP stand for?
Emergency operations. That's points.
Emergency operations.
So 5.
Operation procedures.
Everything they ask for away, she takes mine away.
Plans for loss of control center. So were you close on that one? Is that one of them?
They were thinking Black Start.
I don't think I had that one. Oh, so I had
You had 5.
5. Oh, I just gave the answer to the next one. But you all saw that, so we'll just talk that one through. Restart right.
Oh, yeah, fact
Sure,
2, I was
but
going to say fact
status,
2
right?
as well.
R8. On some of these, we're looking at simulations, so you can actually do this stuff, or you can run simulations on that stuff. And it was shocking to me. I'm not an operator, but it's surprising the number of standards there where TS shows up, where it could be the primary driver to answer that, or it could be a possible driver like this to answer that standard. So EOP 6, no zeros. Okay, Give you 30 seconds to come up with the next one.
This is
on your slide again. Ah! All right, smarty pants. First answer. What's fact 2? Let me see his hand. First hand up wins.
Oh, right.
Okay, fact 2. What is
Oh, first hand up wins.
Okay, well, so Lucas is a fellow submarine sailor, so I can be disparaging to him. If you guys can tell me what fact 2 is, you're going to get the point. Because I remember I had 3 requirements on the points.
Interconnection studies.
What's that?
Interconnection studies.
Yeah, interconnection studies. What does that mean? Over here. And then you guys get a chance. Interconnection studies.
Generation interconnection.
Well, that's just saying the same word in a different order.
Facility interconnection studies.
Where are you going to do a fact 2 study? Where and why? This is a big deal that a lot of utilities miss this one. And most of us do these studies, and what I've seen, being a consultant the last couple of years, they forget to name or drop the name of fact 2 in what they're doing. So, what are they? You're right, and you're right. I mean, I'm right, and you're right. Yes, fact 2 is down here, but okay. Back to material modification. Everybody heard that one? Because we need to define what that is. In the standards, let's get to fact 2. I think the big key word is we define this, right? If you didn't know that, there's some standards that are up for interpretation. Yeah, we would all agree with that, because if you've ever been to a WEC meeting, there's people brawling with each other over a word that NERC purposely left vague so that we would fight, likely, which is what they're really good at. But you get to define what materially modified means. They leave that up to you, us, TPs, PCs. The point is, most people would say if you change topology of a station, oh, that's definitely fact 2. If you could even say if you rebuild a transmission line and it's enough to show a significant difference in flows, that's a material modification. You have to have a fact 2 study. Most transmission planners have studies for all this stuff, but they don't call them fact 2 studies. And if I'm an auditor, I'm going to, right, there's supposed to be evidence here of these studies. And there's a lot of people who have, most of us have project studies. We historically have called them projects. Oh, we're going to do you're going to do something at Bell for Vista, which you should not do, by the way. But you're going to do something at Bell for Vista, and you do the study, and you forget. You might want to put fact 2 in there, because one day, I mean, your federal brother or sister, however you refer to them at FERC, you guys have carte blanche. You're like in the family. The rest of the world, where the FERC auditor shows up and what they say matters, they better have evidence in here. Because if I've seen any projects on your system, if you tell me things have changed and you don't have a fact 2 study, well, I'm going to ding you. But from a specifically transmission planning perspective, this is what we remind people of when we're going out and helping them study. This fact 2 studies protect you. Remember, fact 2 study requires all this stuff, all of it. And I think there's a good reason for it, because if you do a project in January and you do some lame study, which happens all the time, your planner who's doing the annual planning assessment is going to find your errors at the end of the year, right? Because the annual planning assessment has all this stuff in it. I've seen people do pretty big projects with a steady state analysis, and that's it. And I think you're leaving your planner open to pain and suffering when they run the annual assessment with all of its transit stability and short circuit stuff and find out, oh my gosh, what did we do? We didn't study this thing. And a fact 2 could have saved you from doing that. Does that make sense? Now, you may not do it this way, but more than one other utility, sometimes their studies for a major project on the bulk electric system can be pretty light. And fact 2 should warn you, no. You don't do a feasibility study when you're changing a station configuration, meaning you take a heavy summer case and you run power flow on it and some list of P1 contingencies. You just don't do that, because your planner who's doing the assessment is going to find out. And if it's already in the ground and you have to go in there and rebuild it, well, you're going to be on the naughty list. You should be on the naughty list, right? But it's surprising how little evidence there is out there. In my experience, which is not huge, I've only been at this 10 years, but that about fact 2 being in the folder for evidence. Yeah? Questions?
I would just add to that, like, generally the planner who's running that bulk collection system study is the one who's doing that area picture in our case.
Yeah, so it's the same.
You know whether or not your area is transistillally limited.
Perfect.
Or voltage-stability limited, or you need short circuit analysis run. So because we have that commonality, it makes this kind of.
Yeah, and I think you can put it in the evidence folder as, yeah, we did fact 2. It's handy to have it in the actual document, right? You know, I'm a big fan of making it easy for the auditor to go, where's for or fact 2 satisfied? Right here. It says fact 2 in it, says which R it is, and here's the studies that we did. Perfect. Any questions on fact 2? All right. 30 seconds. Next one. That was a freebie. Teams, you got 20 left. And you can take a guess. Yours wasn't really a guess, though, was it? You kind of knew what was going on. 10 seconds. All right. Hey, what do you got?
Fact 4, fact 10? Fact 10. I almost said fact 4.
They said 10? Who said 10 first?
We did.
All right. So if we say, what is it? No looking.
It's a requirement for the planner to have an SOL methodology and to follow it.
SOL methodology and follow it. How do you use TS for that?
We have to look for instability in your methodology.
Yeah, so exactly. What do you do? In what way? Like, this is a great question because does everyone know how to run SOL studies? Anybody care how to run? I mean, does the whole room know how to determine a system? How about an eye roll? Does the whole room know how to make an eye roll?
Oh,
or how do you find an eye
question.
roll? What's that?
Finding an eye roll is a tough question.
Right? But you,
it's not very well defined, right?
well, you get to define it, right? I mean, the beautiful thing about Firkins, they say, well, as long as you tell us the criterion you have for determining which SOLs are eye rolls, and you follow it.
We only identify, we can't declare, right? So that's a key distinction. The RC declares the eye roll.
Yeah, but they'll look at your method. Is that right? They'll look at your methodology because you can come up with.
They will take our identification and then run their own studies to determine and officially declare whether it's an eye roll.
Perfect.
And we're following their methodology.
That's a 4.8.
Like so it's a good one. In PJM, PJM will say, hey, we'll be the helper on that as long as you all agree to use our methodology, so that when we're validating each other's work, it's apples to apples, and which I think is actually surprisingly cool for NERC and FERC to run that one by, because it almost seems reasonable. Some of the standards are not the best sometimes, but excellent. We give them a point for that?
2.
I'm saying yeah.
No, 2.
2.
They should,
Oh,
yeah.
sticklers.
And actually, we go back to the rules.
No.
I think it might be 3.
We tossed those out.
It might be 3.
We have to name the R.
Yeah.
The R.
That one's a tough one. What was the R in that?
R4.
R2. That when it says stuff like shall demonstrate transient dynamic voltage stability, that just smells a lot like transient stability. How many do you guys use GE at all?
I do. Not for studies. I don't run studies, man.
Well, you use GE, right, to open up save files, to save them in EPC files so that PowerWorld can open them, yeah? I mean, let's just be honest about how we keep a GE license so we can open GE or PSSE files and save them into a format where I can open them in PowerWorld and do all the analysis and then save them back to.
We don't do that. Eric and I know how to use it.
You write scripts for it? You got scripts for that?
.ds? I have a file of .ds.
Look at you go. You're dropping names. They'll pick that name up for you, .d. Okay, fact 10. What's next? 30 seconds. What's after fact 10? Well, you're not. What are you doing here? Okay, what is it?
Fact 11 would be the operator's version of fact 10.
Oh, that was just kind of, that was low-hanging fruit, right? Yeah, totally, because fact 10 is the what horizon?
Plan.
Yeah.
Fact 11 is the same, just a day ahead.
2 more points.
Operation.
Easy peasy. Operating horizon. There's fact 11.
Then they don't define operating horizon.
R2.
Yeah, it's year 1. Okay. Did you get R2? Really?
No. We explained it. We explained it.
But in our defense, clearly,
He explained
10 was 2, right? So you could deduce that 11 could also.
Oh, I love your math right now. That's just priceless.
It's an assumption, okay?
So, we're working through it, and we're not even, I'd say we maybe a third of the way through the number of standards the NERC has where your TS can play a part. We're getting the good stuff. Okay, 30 seconds, back 11. Do we be one happy family now, or is there any competition, any competitive spirit left here?
I mean, we're stopping them. It's not even.
Oh, it's on. Okay, 30 seconds. What's after FAC 11?
Back 14?
Well, you're supposed to shout it out. You're supposed to be covert, and maybe lead them. Yeah, you could say, FAC 16. We could use FAC 16. And then maybe they would go for it. Maybe they'd say FAC 17 or 14.
guys on their side.
Oh.
14 R2 in case you.
Oh, come on. Okay, are you both guessing 14? What if we went, What's FAC 13?
I have no idea. I don't know.
You're Bonneville, for gosh sakes. Are you not doing FAC 13 studies? I'm going to call your FERC brother or sister and say, come on with these people. What's FAC 13? Oh, good Lord. Transfer capability, right? Who's doing this? You guys have some paths, right? I'm pretty sure Bonneville has transmission facilities that make up WEC paths. Okay, I won't berate you. All of this is directed at Lucas because he just brings the best out of me.
I'm not doing this.
So,
I know.
for example, Avista had facilities in Idaho Northwest, west of Hathaway, right? And this thing aims at, hey, Avista, come up with a methodology for explaining why or why not, if you bring the path up to where it's rated, west of Hathaway, that the system unzips or doesn't unzip. Right? So every year at FAC 13, Avista has facilities in 3 paths. You have them. Somebody's doing FAC 13 studies here. And because you have a lot more paths than Avista.
They just call them path studies.
We just outsourced our compliancy work internally. So we do all these studies and pass over a compliance and they tell us if we meet everything.
How do you outsource internally? That's cool.
Meaning they're writing reports based on your studies.
Well, the near-term transmission horizon, isn't that 1 to 5 years out?
Yeah. So somebody's doing this, right? These are tough studies to do, frankly. To get west of Hathaway, where it's supposed to be, it takes a week or 2 of arm wrestling a wet case just to get the thing to flow there, right? If you've ever tried to dispatch a case to make something like west of Hathaway function, or Idaho Northwest, I think it's Idaho Northwest in the west to east direction. Oh, good Lord, Midpoint, Summer Lake. Summer Lake is the one. It's just like it's within a megawatt. So these are tough to do. These are fantastic studies to get a new person in planning. Throw on a FAC 13 study and just wish them well. And just because you really have to learn how to balance a case. You will be down there playing with generators that are 10 megawatts just to get the dang path up to its rated flow so that you can run a stability study on it. But you're doing all these within Bonneville. Someone else is doing it. But they're gnarly studies. Good Lord, do you learn a lot about where all the reactive capabilities are in a wet case when you're trying to get rated paths that are rated? It's not trivial. Anyone done rated path studies? Yeah. So you guys know. I mean, it's the roughest that I've ever done trying to get the wet case to go. And wow, it can be again down to megawatts. You're just praying over the thing, hoping your PC's running cool enough that it will solve. And then you can run the study to say, well, can we do this? What happens when we're up at rated path and we start getting faults? So FAC 13. And you guys were all yelling 14. Frankly, I don't know if 14 is the next or not. Oh, it is. Who knows what FAC 14 is?
RCSOL methodology.
The TOP should follow the RC's SOL.
They were kind of close. You were all. I'm gonna give James in this site. So what is it?
TOPs follow the RCSOL methodology.
RCSOL methodology. Which R? Anyone know?
R2.
Wow. Did you? I had 1 through 4. There was a little bit of you could communicate SOL, right? Ensure blah 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 blah. Yeah. I mean, you were right. Determining the difference between SOL and IROL. Does everyone know don't remember. I'm going to be my understanding is going to be informed here by you. I'm not all out in a bag of chips with transmission planning, right? Some of you are so far beyond me.
I have no idea what IROL stands for.
Who can really articulate this well for
You
Jamie?
just roll your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. That's a half a point, right? Right?
Interconnected reliability.
But what is it?
How is that different than
Well, it's
system?
it's a important stability limit.
It's a stability. It's a particular
Or
limit that's
it
stability.
can be cascading.
There you
so
go.
if you have cascading due to the loss of a facility, then that could warrant an IROL development, which is just thermal evaluation.
Okay, so an IROL is a kind of SOL. It's essentially the complicated ones.
And IROLs are set by the RC. TOPs don't set them. TOPs set SOLs.
Are SOLs always only thermal then?
No, they
No.
can be stability limited.
Okay, but they're
Voltage stability, transient stability.
Or voltage.
Or
I mean,
voltage.
sometimes we all think of SOLs as, well, what's the thermal rating? Which is an SOL for the facility. And if you, like she said, if you lose, which of the SOLs, if you violate them, can unzip the system? And those you have to call an IROL.
okay. So
The ones that
they're
can-
really bad ones.
Really angular stability bad. Oh, awesome. Which,
So RC used to define it as having a load loss greater than 1,000 megawatts,
Okay.
but they didn't have a very good justification for it.
Yeah.
So they had to remove it from their RCSO methodology. But you can kind of think of it as being on that level of
So
magnitude.
they're the really things, if you violate them, cause a lot of load loss. They're bad ones.
one of the East Coast RCs has a little, I forget who it was, has a little paper, and their methodology for violating is fascinating. One of them is in the power flow, if and you very much Powerwall is totally lined up for this because you can click on these things. If something violates, you open it and you run it again, and if something else violates, you open, and you get 4 of those, and then it's an IROL.
Okay.
So you can, in thermal stability, you can open up 4 things, and if you have to open up a 5th, they said that's their determining in the thermal world, that's an IROL, whether they're close or far. But again, it's methodology. So there's a lot to learn in looking at the different interconnects, IROL methodologies. Frankly, for me, it was enlightening because we have people asking, help us with our methodology. I didn't know what the methodology. I had no idea. I've never done this. Right? That wasn't my gig. Operations did some of this stuff. I did fact studies, but not the IROL. That was, at least at Avista, that never crossed our desk. You'd be the ones doing the studies for angular stability, SOLs, and IROLs. Yeah.
I think not too long ago they put out a draft white paper on methodology for deriving IRO-like conditions, and it's extensive. It was like a 70-page document that went into like all the different types of analysis you do.
Good. Yeah.
So there's stuff out there. It's really interesting.
Okay, after fact 14, and we're not even into good stuff. Well, fact 13 is kind of good stuff. That's good, gnarly, transient stability stuff. 30 seconds. What's the next one after fact 14? Discuss.
Mod 1A, Mod 129.
Where do they define the bulk factors?
Mod 26.
Google. I always go nerd BES.
Really, they have that.
There's a great white paper on it. It's not my laptop.
That does Mod 26 stuff.
Mhm.
There must be a standard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a standard or what, because it's reported. I'll bring that up.
Because wouldn't
Okay,
that
10
be-
seconds.
Would that be the first one?
So it's not a standard.
Mod 26.
Okay, what do you guys say? 26, 29. So what's 26?
That's doing the generator verification studies.
Which part of the generator?
Gordon?
It's all right. Well, that's, I mean, they got 2. I'm giving them the point. But which part of the generator is it? Do you guys know?
Citation limiter.
Dimitri, no.
It's R4.
I put 26 up there. Isn't 25?
No, that's gathering. That's gathering.
Thanks.
Gathering data.
No, 25
Is the PQ curve.
the PQ curve.
Nice.
And it's
no
just,
points for that.
It's
but
just a
you
couple
both-
points. Just
but
a
you
couple
both got
points
it.
on the PQ curve. It's not even useful.
Yeah, mod 26. In fact, you guys have an internal one, but for external people, it's important, and some of them don't know, when they go to get their generators tested every how many years?
Oh,
5?
10 now. 10.
It's 10 now.
Oh, is it
That's
10?
another point,
Well,
yeah.
per NERC. Per NERC, it's 10.
WEC has gotten rid of their guidelines, so it's back to NERC, which is 10
Which is a
years.
bummer, because there could be GenROWs in for another 10 years, right? I mean, wet cases could be, yeah.
We got to wait 10 years to get Gen QEC now.
But this is where you can request it as a planner. So if for some reason, you get, Bonneville whacks you and you have to go work at some little PUD, this is where you tell your generation function, hey, when you go get this thing tested, here's the allowable WEC model list, and you better use one of these, right? Because we're going to need to validate that when it comes back.
Gen Rouse not available.
Well, it's got a bad reputation of modeling validation work group, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because it was, what was it, 5 years ago? 5 years ago, it kind of came out to go, you need to go to Type J, right? We need to be done with GenROW and roll on to Type J. And then now there's the new, you guys keep doing stuff. All right, mod 26. What's the next one?
27, stabilizers.
Okay, man.
These are the only two I know. 26 and 27.
It says governor.
Oh, dang it.
Ooh.
Power frequency control.
Did anyone know? Did anybody get that? We're one big happy family here, right? We'll share the love on that one.
As long as our team continues to have more points.
We'll share the chocolates.
It's actually 5 to 1 because we didn't get one for bag 11.
Okay.
We've been getting points, so you guys have.
Did you give him a point?
I have.
We can't remember where you guys had points though.
You know what?
I think they have 36.
It has power.
There you go.
It has power frequency
Okay, great.
control.
Look at that. That's how many points you got. Way to go, Gene.
It's like the NPR game shows where they just randomly give points.
So when are we done here? We got to get to the really good ones. Okay, what's next? Take 30 seconds after mod 27. What's the next one?
29.
You're not supposed to. 28, 29. What's 28?
What is 28?
Isn't that the Flowgate methodology?
No, that's 30.
29. Oh, maybe 29.
29 is establishing
You may have a
TTCs.
consensus point. Oh, see, I didn't get that one. So what's mod 29?
I know what mod
That's
32
establishing
is.
TTCs, which could be
Just ask me.
Well, that's the methodology, right? That's not the one that
That's in the
asks for the
wheelhouse.
methodology. That is
That is my
what's-
wheelhouse.
No, that is
what's my-
determining
That wants to
via
drive right off a bridge.
yeah R2 is the
So
TTCs.
you get to pick which of those methodologies to use to comply with.
That's mod 1. Mod 1 says you pick
Eh. So mod 20, what is that again?
9.
Wow, look, I got something here. How about that? I'm so excited.
R2 is doing the TTCs, which could be a stability limit.
Oh yeah, this is 29, 30, 31. They're all the same. I get to pick which
28,
methodology
29, 30,
I use.
yeah.
Everybody get that? Describe what these are. These three you're picking for TTC, right? You're going
Correct.
to say which way we're going to do it: path,
Yeah.
low gate, or the.
That is
Yep.
correct.
Did they get a point for that?
I think I've lost track of it.
Well, you just make it up. You're like. Well, we got to get to the really fun stuff because there's. Well, maybe we'll just get to the fun stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's ours. That's TPMG standard. But that's just the data. There's no studies involved with it. 33 is the next one that does have the studies.
So when you develop dynamic data requirements, I guess you don't necessarily have to run the tool, but if you don't use the tool, how would you actually know what part of the dynamic stuff to include? I'm going to say, what's that?
If it's not there, I'll get an email.
Yep, we can play.
Trust me. Trust me.
So we'll talk about this. Mod 32 is all about case building, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing about, so tomorrow we're going to do, and the next day we're going to take WEC cases that just don't function. They're published, they've gone through the process, and they don't work from the get-go. And Lucas and I, who's been involved in building cases? Other than Lucas and I. Anyone? Yeah. Taylor. I mean, you go to SDWG or SRWG, how it used to be, and it's just shocking how many errors are in the case, how many fixable errors.
Oh, you got to plug in.
The more shocking thing, so what is, well, shoot. I'm just going to use this because we're about ready to talk about this. What is this?
System validation.
You guys are honest. You
System model
you
validation.
guys get 7 points for that. Mod 33 is a cool thing about validating that the software we're using, whether it be PowerWorld for stability or GE or PSSE, actually mirrors reality. I know Dimitri does. We've all learned a lot from the stuff that Dimitri's done at WEC, taking a real fault and then getting the case to look like it did, running the case and going, oh my gosh. And Mod 33, a couple of years ago, we did one at Grid, right? There was a fault in Montana, punted 2 or 3 cold strip units. So I took a light summer case, which is, this is the whole purpose of this. Now, because it was when in the morning? And remember, yeah. And what's the time range for a light summer? Anyone know? 4 to 6.
Yeah.
4 to 6 in the morning, right? Even though we know that thing has all these errors in it, I ran the same fault in a case I got off of WEC, and I think it punted, I can't remember if the fault punted 3 units of cold strip or just 2. 2. And our simulation punted 2 units. It was just the IDs were different. It was shockingly close in this instance to what actually happened in reality, at least functionally, that it made me believe there's some sort of magic that comes around this stuff, because our case, we know sometimes at WEC is not so good, right? There's some heinous errors in that. And yet, you took the Mod 33 thing. That took us about a year to do at Columbia Grid. It probably could have been done in 3 months, but we all participate rather slowly. And then Bo Gong was there just really trying to get all of us to play nicely, in which we don't do it in the West, but we did. And to validate, does your software look like the real thing? And it eventually ended up surprisingly close, even though there's lots of questionable data parameters in a published WEC case. But I was shocked that we ran TS, ran the fault. You're going to run the faults tomorrow. We're going to do a bunch of that stuff. And it punted the right unit set cold strip, and it looked surprisingly well, even though we hadn't taken that light summer case and got it to look like 3 in the morning West-Wide system model of the day that fault happened. So in some sense, there's comfort that there's some magical being that makes our simulation somewhat surprisingly accurate, knowing we know that the data in the cases is sometimes obscene.
I'm building the case.
What's that?
Lucas is the magical being.
You're the magic? Nice.
A little piece of me.
Well, now Lucas gets to head that unruly organization, and that should be fun to watch. Okay, what's after Mod 33? We'll just roll through a couple. Any guesses?
PRC something?
What's PRC 6? You can use TS here. Through dynamic simulation, right? How about that? Anyone ever done this? Anyone done under frequency load shedding for Bonneville, right? We submit stuff. Isn't this the stuff we send Northwest Power Pool? Yeah. Let them know what the thing does. And these are relays, right? If you look in PowerWorld, which we might play with some of these. It's one of the many models you can put in the tool, and you can define the under frequency, under voltage relay stuff in a generator, which we might get there tomorrow. PRC, what's next? It's PRC. Oh, what's 8? Who said 8? Were you guessing? Okay, I'm taking the 0.5 back. It could be. What is PRC 8? I don't know. Any protection people in here want to fess up? We'll pass. What's PRC 10? Well, it's similar, under voltage. What's the good one I'm getting at? Anyone know? Of the PRC standards, what's the timely, relevant standard for? I mean, it's way ahead of its time.
24.
15.
That's not the one. But that's kind of a big deal, right? RAS, we get that. PowerWorld's got a great tool for RAS. You guys use PowerWorld for RAS? Yeah?
They designed it, I would say, honestly.
Everyone know what RAS is? Don't be shy. Honestly, we're all learning here. So
Yes.
Okay, Lucas says collectively for the group, yes. Yeah. 26. This is the one I was after. What is 26? Bueller? Bueller?
Relay modeling?
Yeah, look at that. Double points.
Oh, yeah.
Power swings.
That's 72 now. Yes.
Here's the weird thing, right? So FERC and NERC, in an assuming sort of way, and I've read some annual planning assessments that have addressed this quite creatively. It says R1.4 identified in the most recent annual planning assessment where relay tripping occurs. What does that assume about our planning model?
It has relays.
Yeah, right? It has relays in it. Who's put relays in it? What's a good relay in Power World to use to even approach this in some way that a FERC auditor would say, all right, nice try, good job. What's it called? Starts with a D.
Overcurrent.
Time over currents?
We have time over currents.
This is more fun.
D?
Yeah.
Is it a D?
Starts with a D, the model name.
It looks like an AND gate.
Wow. All right, so it's my flowery D, Lucas.
There.
I don't even know which one you're talking about. Oh, the district.
Oh,
Right? Who's played with disc relay? What is disc relay? Anyone know?
Distance relay.
Nice. But what can you do with it?
it's looking out.
That's-
It's looking out.
That's different than the other ones. It's a pretty fully functioning zone distance relay. Right? You can zone A, zone B, transfer trip. You can change the shape of the mode curve. It's stunning how well this is. And I look at this because they're assuming a lot, right? FERC and NERC, I think they're giving us all the credit we do not currently deserve because nobody's modeling relays. Now,
What Seattle City Light did.
who did this bigger than that? Last 2018.
Who did what?
We were all a part of it at that point. Columbia Grid. Columbia Grid did a response to PRC 26. And I know it at Vista because we had a summer student do all of our dist relays. So dist relay, again, it just looks from, in the case, right, I know there's a bunch of that other nonsense in there, those intermediate buses that Power World thinks are lines, but you can add this impedance up, and you can tell dist relay, that's the impedance breaker to breaker. I want you to go at 80%, and it does zone distance, zone A, zone B, you can trigger all that stuff. It's fascinating. So we put those in there, and Columbia Grid then auto-inserted dist relays for everybody else in Area 40, I think, and then tried to run a study that would get a power swing, however you do that, to be big enough to cause dist relays to play when they weren't supposed to. Meaning to say, oh, I need to trip when there's no fault. That's the intent of PRC 26. It is try to get from the planning assessment, hey, where in your planning studies, transient stability stuff, did you get a fault that created a power swing so big that the relays that you have all modeled, that's what it says, tripped. Now, I don't know how, this has been in there a while. I haven't been audited by FERC yet to have them go and say, oh, wait a minute, you don't have, I've seen annual assessments that say, we assume there's no relays tripping. Now, maybe that works for them. Sometimes audits don't go as where they should go, but that's how some planners have addressed this so far. They've just said, I made a statement in the annual planning assessment that said, we assume no relays will trip. Now, the funky thing is you can at least put them in there. Yeah?
The applicability is transmission planner, planning coordinator?
Yeah, for the assumption is in the annual planning assessment, which is PC and TP are the ones who are rolled around in that one, yeah? But I'm letting you know that, so I did get some dist relays to play for power swings. Not a fault, so within somebody's system, you can take in transmissibility and put a really big honking load here, which looks a lot like a fault, but it's just a load. It was a 15 gigawatt load. And then some relays over here played. At least we knew the dist relay could function in that way, that if there was a big enough swing, other relays would play. But frankly, I think unless you guys know, you PhDs, so we'll go to the other bookend, what fault or sequence of events in WEC can get a power swing that's a legitimate test of generic relays to function or not during that said power swing. It's kind of out there in space. And my understanding is no one's really done a good job. I know Bogong at Columbia Grid tried to define a couple that we think could have generated power swing big enough to cause relays to play. Anybody any more insight than that on this? Because The standard seems well ahead of reality at this point. It really does. Yet your simulator tool has the capacity, at least for some of the folks that we've done work for, I've put them in and said, hey, none of them tripped, where they shouldn't have tripped. And there might be an easier way to do it. I had to look at event logs to look for it. There might be a more programmatic way to see, did that dist relay over here play for the fault over here?
Yeah, we don't have anything. You'd have to do what you do.
Yeah.
There's none like count the number of dist relays.
Yeah. But it's at least a better, I think it's a good response for the annual planning assessment to comply with that requirement than just saying, none of ours will trip. Because they've tripped before and people have gotten in trouble for it. Yes, sir?
I feel like if you trip 3 units of Palo Verde, you could definitely get a huge stick.
If you did which?
3 PV, Palo Verde.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. I have not got.
I have tried it.
Did you get some relays to play?
Yeah. Because we were working on setting a couple of hot steady relays, and basically was markedly stable.
Where were the relays that did play? Do you remember?
We were monitoring Grizzly.
Yeah.
Grizzly a couple times.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to try that out. I had to make up a load enough to get swings to go.
Yeah, just do a 3 PV.
Were you using dist relay?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Thank you. Look at that. I've been informed. I'm so excited. I'm going to try triple Palo Verde.
I'm excited another customer actually put in some distance relays.
There's 2 now, right? A Vista and Bonneville.
Yeah,
How about that? Lucas, you had a question, comment?
I mean, you guys are talking about how big of a power swing you need. So, like, you just keep on cranking up your power swing until you get some relays to trip?
Well, I'm not a protection guy, right? But I do have the Blackburn book, just so I can drop the name that I have the Blackburn book, right? And here's the line impedance, right? And apparently, this is load impedance, apparently, for you protection people. And if load's big enough, it can wander in here and cause things to trip.
Yes.
So I just thought, well, put a big honking load somewhere, which is kind of like a fault, but it's a load, and see if you can, and I did get one to go into the zone.
I mean, what, you just put it there and hit solve? I mean,
Yeah, 1 second.
Or when you run your transit.
I closed the load.
Close in a big impedance.
It was a 15 gigawatt load, but I closed it in. And it caused relays to play. So at least I knew the relay could function for other than an actual fault. Now the impedance is probably the same.
Yeah.
But in my case, putting a big load in there, I got relays that were not nearby to say, I'm tripping, I'm out.
Yeah.
You just make the Chief Joe break 10 times bigger.
It's a big old, it's a super cheap.
Yeah, I didn't know what a power swing was, and so I Googled it.
So does that mean we got extra 10 points?
Yes,
I
definitely.
appreciate your that's an extra 10 points.
I
I think it's a tie game. I think it's tied. All right, we're all tied up.
So actually,
No, we're way ahead.
you need PRC 24.
Okay, what's 24?
Because PRC 24 is ride-through capability for generator units, and it sets the system frequency ride-through capability curves.
100 points.
Oh, and then 15 points.
PRC 24.
Actually, because
Destiny right here. So what do you think, Logan?
No, I think we should divide it because I said PRC 24 before. I just didn't say that loud.
oh, okay, tie game, tie game.
I believe him.
I mean,
I've never heard you lie.
let's be honest. Your rationalization was just as good as his right there. I mean, it was. What's after 26?
27.
27.
What is 27?
The number after 26.
No, it's.
Anyone? Anyone?
I don't got it.
Well, how am I going to give you a point? You just said, well, what's after 26? Well, 27 is indeed after.
Yeah.
What is 27? We're going to skip it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what about this one? We all know this one, right? This is our big friend.
It's our new friend as of April 1st, 2017.
Because of the Southwest blackout.
10 points.
You just could have your own game show by yourself. You're just like, I'm for my own.
All right, tops. There's some. What's the next? What's the next one after TLP 1? 2. Which side are you on? Now you guys could buy. Is this
One PhD per side.
Oh,
Is that saying you have to run a transient stability study every 30 minutes?
It just says a real-time assessment.
Who's in operations? So, yeah, is this literal? Every 30 minutes. Are you guys running these studies?
Every 15.
Continuously?
Every 15 minutes are RTCA runs.
Oh, so it's part of RTCA.
Well,
But our real-time assessments aren't stability.
Yeah.
Our real-time assessments aren't stability.
they don't do stability.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
So tell me, because I'm a planner,
Or some sort of
who in operations is clicking the go button in Power World every day?
for stability.
For any reason. So I'm not an operator, but I see a lot of requirements that look like, wow, these guys got to run like hourly studies.
It's the group that Ashley supervised.
It's automated. It's all automated.
So it's in the essence.
Is it using Power World? Is it using the Westwide system?
Power World. That also gets converted to Power World.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the reason we have the full topology stuff.
Yeah, okay,
So you
okay.
can read it directly and not mess with it. So
Otherwise, that would be a horrible job.
correct. Otherwise, it would take a whole day.
This is
to
a
set up the
horrible
case
job.
to run.
For us planners, this looks horrible. Horrible. I like Power World. I love it, but man, that's rough.
Yeah, they get the EMS case.
Okay, 10 more minutes. TOP 1, then TOP 4. Oh, who said 4? Who said 2? You said 2?
And that's the day version of TOP1.
Oh, man, these are just so easy.
Now you're getting into there.
Is this ops heavy over here?
This is ops heavy.
Oh man. Okay, what's after TOP 2? You're a little slow, but it was close. Right? Oh wow, I didn't have 3. What's 3?
But you went backwards.
Okay, -1.
I think you just hit backwards.
I don't have 3.
Oh, okay.
TOP3 is the data that has to be passed.
Do you use TS for that? Or?
No, it's more of a data transfer from the
Okay, -20.
TOP over to the neighbors.
Is there any more after 3? TOP?
No.
Where you actually use it? Okay. Here's the good stuff, right? That's what we do. Or that's what planners do. Who's done an annual assessment? Who's the poor lackey that has to do an annual assessment? Yeah. When do you all publish yours?
They all work on it. Like all of them work on it.
Yeah. Or do you chunk it into areas?
Yeah.
But then when do you guys publish yours? Ish.
January, this is? March, April?
That's what we're gonna give them.
I know that what you've done is what a lot of, I can't say a lot, a number of utilities I've worked with, they're shooting for something other than December 24th. It seems like a lot of them are there when their coworkers have left for a Christmas holiday. There's the planners trying to get that assessment done. You don't have to publish it yet, but they haven't even gotten the studies done. And so they're still busting studies out, and they say, man, next year we are going to, Avista was like this. Your neighbors at Avista, it was like that every year. Let's get this thing done early. Nope. And somebody's there until the 24th evening trying to get that last study done. This is where most of it happens. Yeah, would you agree that as far as using transient stability, this is the stuff that takes forever, unless you have distributed. You guys have distributed? Matt and I were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, does that help? Yeah. Anyone know what distributed is? Everyone know what distributed is?
Distributed computing.
Yeah, it's distributed computing. It's where you're able to use all the processes on your computer to be able to run the study quicker.
10 points.
If you don't work for Bonneville, you can use other people's computers.
Right. Oh, do you guys borrow other people's without them knowing? You'll snip on the land. You go at night and install Power World on other people's computers, and then.
Well, you do server-based.
Yeah, I know Avista went that route, so I built one in Avista, and I found out, little did I know, in an office space, it's still 20 amps, right? Those things are still, and so we had 14 of these things running, and I fired up transient stability, and my space got really, really quiet. My row was still on, but then I heard this whole row of people go, what's going on? And I tripped too big surface. Right?
Fantastic.
And you go, huh? And some office spaces, little did I know you could pull this thing off. There's 3 buses.
Yes.
A, B, and C that give 20 amps. So we just balanced our space, and then they've gone to a server, which is probably wiser because 14 units running a space, it gets kind of warm when you run transient stability.
Only run it during winter.
Right. Well, we did. We had one She was from California. We had a planner, and she didn't mind us putting them all in her cube and pointing them at her because she usually sit with a blanket. And now when stability was running, it was just a lovely thing. But everyone knows a 20-second quarter cycle takes 20 minutes. That's typically what a WEC case takes for a TS run. A single one, a minute per second is pretty much how that balances out. So if you have 1,000 stability runs, you're going to be there a while. Be thankful.
It is an example where the desktops or the servers are better.
Way better.
Because I run it on, like, that laptop has 8 cores, so I can fire up like 6 of them on that laptop, but everything starts slowing down, and if you pull up the system monitor, the 3 gigahertz processors are all running at like 0.8 gigahertz because it gets hot. And literally just can't, it's like got 8 cores, but you can't actually use them all at once.
Water cool.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't know
if you're buying computers, careful.
Yeah.
Because they'll throttle themselves back if they get
Well, I got a
too hot.
coworker who's got an older laptop, and honest to God, he puts it in his beer fridge and runs it because it just overheats all the time. Which is kind of tragic.
With the beer.
Huh? Right? What was the other thing on this? Okay.
At work?
No, he's at home. He works at home.
I think I know who that guy is.
Jim?
Oh, okay. I figured Tracy.
And I know we've all talked, or at least.
Oh, he doesn't? Oh, yeah, that's right.
This thing's going to drive us to get cloud, Amazon or whoever really functioning. Honestly, the more, so there's some utilities that's surprising how little transit they do, given what the standards say. Again, I think FERC sometimes doesn't slap our hands the way it could, given what some people don't do, and likely because it just takes so long. But as TPL 5 rolls out, 6 will roll out one day. TPL 1, version 5 is going to come out, 6 is going to come out. It's not going to get easier. And so there's going to be a requirement to do more stability stuff, and that's where one day the SIP stuff is going to get happy with going to Amazon and just saying, hey, I want to rent 1,000 cores for a week and just get all this stuff done using somebody else's server. Because it would work. Has anyone gone there yet?
Some customers have been doing it. I don't completely understand why.
The super good news for WEC, so feel better about yourselves in WEC, because the MISO case, 88,000 buses, oh my gosh, it takes so long to solve just a single time.
It's
like at
not
WEC,
so-
a powerful, I go solve, solves. MISO, solve, solve, powerful. Oh, it's slow. It's horrible.
Stability, it's not so bad because they all use zip models for loads. So.
That was the powerful was the issue.
Yeah, the power flow.
Gosh, that's a horrible case.
Stability is about the same.
Really?
Oh, it's forever long. And it's got
terrible.
like 10 islands in it. It's just a nightmare
Our
by
full
comparison.
topology cases take 2 to 5 seconds to solve.
For,
Yeah, but they're getting consolidated.
Right.
So they're in the
That's on a good day.
in the solution. They're similar to a WEC.
So we'll finish up. There's other drivers for some utilities, maybe not for Bonneville, but there was some stuff for Bonneville, right? Tariff stuff, LGIA is a great place to start a new person if you have a generation interconnection study. That's an awesome way to get into planning because you can start at the feasibility stage, running power flow, and then system impact. You can do stability stuff. IRPs, IOUs will do those. The merchant will ask you, hook up 20 generators at these 16 points over the next 20 years and tell me what it does. That's what they do. And they're kind of crazy people, but you can run transstability for that. Path rating, we talked about that factor. Available capacity. Any other uses that you all have for TS that we didn't talk about here? Other than, Dimitri, I'm sure does a bunch of theoretical stuff or whatever. But
Say model validation.
I'm not disparaging. I appreciate what you do, but I'm on the other buck. You guys are over here, Tom and Jamie, and I'm over here, man. I'm the NERC auditors here. I'm just over here. That's as high level as I go. Yeah.
I guess it's probably in the standard somewhere, but more often I'm finding it with all the composite load models and stuff interesting to run even local load area faults just to see, because in the power flow it may crash and diverge, but when you run the transient and you see the voltages go down to 0.7, hang out, and slowly drift back up, so you feel comfortable that you might let cap switch in 10 seconds.
Right.
So I think taking advantage of that has been helping a lot.
yeah, for folks who've not done that, sometimes you can get a power flow case that freaks out, and you run the same thing in stability to see, well, how did it freak out? Because sometimes power flow just won't solve.
Well, it's because of the constant power going
Yeah.
back. That's the problem.
But it's a good way to troubleshoot power flows that go unsolved in your assessment runs, and go find out, well, how exactly did it unsolved? Good. I think we got a break, right?
Yes.